WAWR.com and Halftime Pizza proudly present WAWR Week Radio Chats with ring announcer and commentator Joseph Heron.
Guys, welcome. Happy Friday to all of you. And my sincere apologies for being absent for about a week. I had a little accident and wanted to wait till my voice was up to snuff before I eventually greeted all of you. Yeah, I sounded like my brother Coach Ronnie earlier in the week, or Fred Sanford, more specifically. But guys, it's been a crazy week up to this point, including, well, the aftermath of Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. So much has been said. What I want to know is, why is everyone interested in, and once again, just looking at YouTube channels that profess and the passion for our beloved boxing. Everyone had the same titles to every single, all the titles. Like everyone had the same title and wanted to discuss the same, in my opinion, ignorant topic. Well, is Gervonta Tank Davis the next face of boxing? Who gives a shit? Look, guys, that's of no consequence, and that's neither here nor there. Once again, he's not going to be in the ring probably for the remainder of the year. And if he is, well, it's not going to be until November or December, depending on how long his stint in the Hoosgow is. Keep in mind, like him or not, he's got a date with destiny in a court of law. And the fact that this is going to trial and he's facing 14 counts is not good. That's the real reason in the post-fight press conference that he said, you know what, I'm not even thinking about that right now. I want to go back to the drawing board and meet with my team. Yeah, he's going to meet with the judge as well. So if he really wants to be the face of boxing, stay out of trouble, young man. And once again, he's hopefully he's not one of those gentlemen that where trouble seems to consistently find him. Because he's a lot going for him, especially after this fight on Saturday. By the way, did you guys purchase it? What did you guys think? Well, I'm going to share my thoughts with all of you on this fight. And once again, we told you guys that it was a super fight, whether you guys didn't want to believe it or not. And most of you here on this channel did. But there were some who, well, let's just tell it like it is, who ignorantly stated, well, there's nothing at stake. What's at stake? Well, what was at stake, if you haven't ascertained it by now, was something more scarce than a mere trinket from one of the sanctioning organizations. And that's mainstream attraction. And once again, that's why everyone was talking about, not the belt following, or not what title this was fought for at 136, but everyone was running with the same narrative. Is Tank Davis the new face of boxing? Guys, that's much more scarce and a much more precious commodity than any world title. Just ask Devin Haney, who is now lobbying for a potential fight with Tank Davis, should he actually be successful against Vasyl Lomachenko coming up on May 20th. And guys, that fight is right around the corner. We're going to be talking about that tonight as well. But once again, there's a reason why Haney is busy calling out Tank Davis, not the other way around. Why is that? Because leading up to the fight, I had a bunch of lunatics saying, oh man, this fight doesn't mean feces. This fight means nothing. Tank Davis is a real champion. Okay. Why is everyone talking about Tank Davis? Why were the pay-per-view numbers so high? We'll also talk about that because that has a lot to do with what Teofimo Lopez was trying to say. And once again, we've got a lot to talk about that. Teofimo Lopez, goodness grief. Everyone seems to be rolling with the narrative. Oh man, he's racist. Brother, if you're in this business and you've grown accustomed to playing well with the other kids in the sandbox, you don't have a racist damn bone in your body. And I'll explain. And I'll tell you exactly what Teofimo Lopez was trying to say in his own ignorant way. Well, I tell you what, I need to reach out to him, see if I could do PR work for him, because he needs to shut his mouth and have someone write some scripts for him. Guys, we're also going to talk about the undercard. We're going to talk about Ryan Garcia's future. We're going to talk about, well, did he indeed quit? Did Ryan quit? Well, I'm going to explain to you guys that it's irrelevant whether he quit or not. The only thing that matters is public perception at this time. And I'll explain in a bit. But guys, none of this should detract from the, well, dominant performance of Tank Davis over Ryan Garcia, right? What did you guys think? Did you guys enjoy the fight? I'll tell you what, Tank, it reminded me a lot of Nonito Donaire versus Guillermo Rigondeaux, in which one fighter was not willing to veer from the script, to deviate from the script, and another fighter was. One fighter wasn't willing to take chances, and the other fighter was. Now, obviously, that fighter was Ryan Garcia, willing to take chances, right? Foolishly, but brave. Tell you what, it's stupid, but gallant. And he even stated afterwards, hey, you know what? I was getting bored in there. I decided to take chances, and I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. But I tell you what, thank God he did, because without that knockout, what would everyone be saying right now about that fight? They would be likening that performance from both gentlemen to Pacquiao Mayweather, and they'd feel jobbed, and that would have been terrible for the sport of boxing. So thank you, Ryan Garcia, for being a company guy and foolishly electing to engage and to get off first when you're a counterpuncher by trade. And once again, I tried to prepare you guys all for it, that this fight was going to have a lot of slow moments to it, right? Two counterpunchers by trade, going head to head, having respect for their other power, right? Yeah, their opponent's power, and that's exactly what we saw. In the first round, somewhat of a feeling out round. The second round, Ryan Garcia unwisely went right after Tank Davis, and he was making things very uncomfortable for Tank Davis. You saw Ryan, or you saw Tank Davis, Gervonta, do the Devin Haney routine and just merely try to wrap him up like an octopus until he could, and forcing the referee to create that much needed distance between the both of them. But a very, very intelligent fighter like Tank Davis, you give him enough looks, and you let his eyes get adjusted to the speed and timing of his opponent, the speed and the movement. Well, he's going to time you like a clock. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I know a lot of people, they're belly aching about the first round judges. Oh, how could two of the judges score at 10-9? And then one of the judges scored at 10-10. Well, one, it's of no consequence now. It ended in a knockout. But I'll explain this very simply. It doesn't happen very often these days, okay? But in the past, it used to happen all the time, and it's only fair. If a judge feels that one fighter is overwhelmingly winning the round, but gets knocked down at the tail end of it just from one punch landed, and it seems like it's a flash knockdown, well, then they will often score it at 10-9 rather than 10-8, because up until that point, the fighter that scored the knockdown was losing the round. That's why you saw two of the judges, very competent judges, score the round 10-9 in favor of Tank Davis, and then 10-10 even, right? Like I said, it doesn't happen very often these days, but it used to happen all the time, and that is the more competent way of scoring a round like that. Hope it makes sense to everybody. Let's see. Before we move forward, guys, let's we have a lot to discuss on this, guys. And once again, I'm sorry that I was absent for the whole week. Hopefully you guys have seen and liked my video articles that I posted on the page. Please let me know what you guys think about that. Also, please let me know what you guys think of the AI characterization of my boy Ronnie Shields, his voice. Coach Ronnie was a good sport, and he really got a kick out of that. And he was like, you know what? My voice hasn't sounded that clear in decades. I love Ronnie. He's such a great dude. But once again, let's give a shout out to my brother, Punchy. Let's go, Heron. Oh, thank you for being here, my friend. God bless you, my brother. And I hope you enjoyed all of last weekend's festivities. I also want to give a shout out to my brother, SSP Diving. How are you doing this beautiful Friday evening, sir? Thank you for joining us. Also want to give a shout out to my brother, Ahai Balash. Welcome to the show, sir. Also want to give a shout out to my brother, Bruce Gas, Moxing, Jazz, and more. Excuse me. Salute to you, my friend, and thank you for joining us this Friday. And if you feel like chatting and you have your headphones, don't be a stranger, brother. I'm going to post a link one more time. Post a link, brother. Or there's the link. Hold on. Let me post it. There you go. And guys, if you haven't already, please go subscribe to my brother, Bruce. He does always great stuff. Always has a lot to say. And he's a great historic fan of the sport. Love it. Absolutely love his channel. Go check it out, guys. Please subscribe. Also want to give a shout out to It's Me, Pablo. Thank you for joining us, my friend. He says it's all marketing. Floyd has been saying Tank Davis is the next face of boxing for years. So is Ellerby, right? And his ideology is, well, if he continues saying it, there's a very good possibility that a lot of fans will begin to believe it and start to regurgitate. But is that the reality? Once again, it's entirely up to you guys. You guys are the real bosses of boxing. You guys what determines whether or not a matchup or an event is a super fight. No one else. No one else. You guys are the real bosses of boxing. You're the greatest ambassadors this sport has. And I hope you guys all watched it with mainstream viewers who really don't know a fish hook from a left hook. That's where you guys shine, especially when there's a lot of lulls in action like this last fight, right? It's up to you guys to explain everything that's happening, right? You guys are boxing's greatest ambassadors and the real bosses of our beloved pastime. Anyway, God bless you, Pablo. Thank you for joining us, sir. I want to give a shout out to my brother, Peter Von Arks. Thank you for joining us, sir. Greetings to you. And if you have your headphones on, please join me tonight. I also want to give a shout out to my brother, Rodney Evans, a.k.a. Hot Rod. Thank you for joining my brother. I hope you enjoyed the fights. Joe, is it cap or is it real? Crawford versus Pence, July 22nd in Vegas. I'm not sure about the date, but yes, it's a done deal. And I told you guys this last week. It's done, guys. It's going to happen this summer, but I'm not sure about the date. Everything that I've been told weeks ago that, yeah, it's looking like it's a done deal. Once again, it's taken long enough, huh? And I'm not going to get excited for it until it's announced. But yes, it's a done deal, brother. So you can take it to the bank. Peter says, I'm thinking Ryan was hurting enough not to want to continue. That's one way of looking at it. That very well could have been the case. Or there are a lot of fighters who insist to me that I've spoken to that, hey man, if you just get touched in that right area, especially with someone who's got heavy hands like Tank Davis, takes the legs right out from under you and you feel like you're going to die, including my brother Lee Cleveland, who's a former prize fighter, editor-in-chief of FightSaga.com. I spoke to him shortly after that fight, after the fight, and he insists to me, he says that was the only time he was stopped, either in the gym or in an amateur fight. That's the only time he was stopped by a left hook to the liver, and he couldn't breathe for the next several minutes. He felt like he was going to die. Fighters insist to me that, hey, if you don't believe it, then you probably haven't been in the ring or taken one of those shots before. But I will say this. There are a lot of fighters who genuinely believe that he quit. Fighters, trainers, critics, fans that genuinely believe that he quit. And quite honestly, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter whether or not he quit voluntarily or that he physically couldn't continue. What matters is what people believe at this point. Because right now, going from establishing yourself to one of the red hot boxing attractions and big ticket selling commodities, okay, that can be evaporated in 1 second if the public believes that you're not worthy of their pay-per-view dollar or that you quit. Okay, and once again, you'll notice this, most of the critics, most of his harshest critics were his ardent supporters on fight nights, guys that were hoping that he would win. And most of them are the Mexican fight fans, Mexicanos, the great Mexicanos, the great Mexican fight fans that are currently, now keep in mind, once again, guys, there's something to be said about that. The Mexican fight fan, right? Who have, well, single-handedly, in my opinion, carried this pastime on the mainstream and casual level on their shoulders. Is it any coincidence that Tank Davis, with a popular Mexican counterpart, dance partner, was able to reach those lofty pay-per-view numbers? Guys, they also had the 5th biggest gate in the history of Vegas boxing. That's no coincidence, guys. That's not a coincidence. Floyd knew this, right? Think about everyone that he chose as a dance partner on pay-per-view. How many of those fighters were Black Americans? Zab Judah, Shane Mosley. Oh goodness, his name eludes me. The very last one besides Conor McGregor. What was his name? He's a PBC fighter too. I can't remember. Nonetheless, his name eludes me right now. But the only one to do well, decent numbers of those 3 fighters, was Sugar Shane Mosley. That was a very anticipated. And this was coming off the strength of Sugar Shane Mosley's brilliant knockout performance of the formerly believed iron-chinned Antonio Margarito, right? So most piggybacking off that, yeah, they bought that pay-per-view. Zab Judah numbers, though, 225,000. The last pay-per-view he did without an MMA guy or without an exhibition, yeah, that did 500,000, maybe 400,000. No one bought it. Okay, Floyd knew this. Floyd knew, hey man, you know what? I need to get an Hispanic dance partner to get all those guys that want to see me lose. I want them to hate me. I want them to root against me. I want them to tune in and purchase the pay-per-view on the fact or on the idea that I may lose. Right? He wanted to get their money. He wanted to stoke their interest. Look at the results. Right? Want to give a shout out to my brother here to there. Cheers to you, my friend. Thank you for joining us on this evening. Give a shout out to round one. Hello from G Funky's channel. Thank you, brother, for migraine. G Funky's a great guy, isn't he? Thank you for being here, my friend. And if you have your headphones, why don't you join me? Also want to give a shout out to my brother Joey. What's going on, Joseph? How are you doing on this beautiful Friday night, brother? And thank you for joining us, sir. Yeah, if you guys aren't doing anything, go ahead and click the link that I just provided and make sure you have your headphones. Also, guys, in case my microphone starts to malfunction and have some kind of interference, please let me know in the comment section, okay? Also want to give a shout out to my brother Juice. Salute to you, my friend. Also want to give a shout out to my brother Khalid. Salute to you, my brother. Thank you for always joining us. Happy Friday to you, brother. And at this time, I'd like to introduce for the first time to the show, Mr. Joey Gems. How goes it, my brother? Happy Friday to you, sir.
Happy Friday, Joseph. How you doing?
Well, I tell you what, now that I can speak without sounding like Fred Sanford, yeah, I had a problem with my throat earlier in the week. Now that that's gone, I'm doing great, man. How did you enjoy the fights? How did you enjoy all the festivities, and what are your thoughts?
It was a great event. First off, I'm happy to see that the fight did well. I feel like that's good for boxing to know that we actually can still have. Now, you would know better than anybody, especially myself, regarding if these numbers are even remotely close to the true, accurate numbers. But regardless, I think we can all agree that this has been a bigger event in recent times.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, the numbers, we won't know exactly what the numbers are because they're going to be filtering in, especially ones that were purchased through the antiquated cable and satellite distribution method. They're going to keep filtering in for most of the year. We won't know exactly what the numbers are for months, but the estimation is accurate. From what it's anywhere from 1.2 million to 1.4 million.
Well, I'm so surprised because I remember Rick Glacier coming out and saying the complete opposite, that it was a bit what's the word?
Well, here's and once again, I love Rick, and he's a very dear friend of mine, and he's up in Dallas right now. I was supposed to go to Dallas to check out this Williams Zepeda fight, but I couldn't make it for the obvious reason because of my voice. I'm just now getting over this. But to anyone who's interested, both Rick and Steven Espinosa and Dan Rafael, they're both correct. And I'll tell you why. The number that's been floated out to Keith Heidick, Dan Rafael, myself, they're the whole enchilada. They're not just the antiquated cable and satellite numbers, right? That's what Rick is getting only exclusively. Those are the only ones that he has access to, and he gets them from the same gentleman I do, right?
Okay.
It's an attorney, an entertainment lawyer out in Los Angeles who is privy to everything from Girls Gone Wild to boxing events, right? Everything. And so, but it's only privy to the cable and satellite distribution numbers. He has no clue, and he's not privy to the ones with direct streaming. Only Showtime and DAZN are privy to those. So if Rick doesn't know anyone affiliated with Showtime or DAZN, he has no clue what those numbers are, right? Okay. And so they're both right. Anyone who's wondering about that. That's a very good question, Joey. And guys, if you're not familiar with my brother Joey, he's always very insightful. And I had the privilege of meeting him for the first time several months ago on Boxing Gems channel, guys. If you haven't already, please go subscribe to Boxing Gems, one of the best channels on YouTube devoted to boxing. And you'll learn a lot, right? Great stuff. But yeah, that's where I first met Joey, and it's always a pleasure to share the air with you, my brother.
Absolutely. It was great talking to both Gems and you, because you both give different perspectives on the sport. You have Gems, who talks about the technical side of it, and you have you, who brings up the boxing politics, everything that really creates the fights, which is very important too.
Yeah, so, thank you for saying that, man, because once again, there's a reason why he's completely devoted to studying fight film, right? Because that's the intangible that you can measure, right? The other intangibles are impossible to measure, like going into the fight with Ryan and Tank.
Yeah.
His power, his speed, his mental and physical durability. Those are all very different things. And that ultimately is what determines fights of this nature when you have two. But it looks like, though, yeah, Gems was absolutely correct. And it was pretty much determined with that lead hand of Tank Davis.
Yep.
It was beautiful. It was masterful. He pretty much took away Ryan Garcia's ace in the hole, his primary weapon, that left hook. And he did it with that pawing jab, basically keeping him occupied with that. Measuring distance, and you could see it. It pretty much put Ryan in checkmate after round 3.
Absolutely. Like, personally, I'm gonna be on the record. I did like Tank's performance. I thought he did great, but I was at the same, and I was very disappointed in Ryan Garcia's just low boxing IQ in that second round. He started off great, but it's just, I don't know. It's like I thought the game plan would have been, like, in the first round, to just bag up rounds, be careful, don't get too excited. And because that, you can use that against Tank, because he takes rounds and rounds in order to start to build up, like he did with Hector Luis Garcia in his previous fight.
That's right. And where the hell were the feints?
Yeah.
He did nothing to disrupt the timing and rhythm of a prolific counterpuncher like Tank Davis.
Exactly.
But dude, you've gotta, in the immortal words of Teddy Atlas, you've got to put some bugs on the windshield. He did none of that, dude.
No, it was
none of that. He just lunged in with his chin in the air.
He really copied the blueprint of Leo Santa Cruz in that 6th round in round 2, when he threw 3 consecutive left hooks at the exact same speed and range. And I was just stunned. I'm like, he keeps trying. He missed every single one of these. At this point, why don't you just reset? Like that was mine. But instead, he was just going for the home run, because my best assumption is he thought he had Tank hurt. But in reality, all he was doing was just getting his timing when he was extending his lead hand, and then boom, he clipped him.
That's it. And it made Ryan gun shy for the rest of the night, up until the 7th round.
Absolutely.
And once again, thank God Ryan took those foolish chances. Once again, stupid, but thank God he did. Because could you imagine the mainstream and casual backlash right now if that fight doesn't end in a knockout?
Oh, absolutely. I agree. Because that was what everybody was coming. Everybody was coming for a knockout. No one wanted that fight to go 12, me included.
Yeah, yeah. But I tell you what, and I warned all of you guys, hey, don't be surprised if this is a very, very slow fight with a lot of dull moments. And once again, dull to the mainstream and casual, not to you guys, right?
No, absolutely.
Because in my opinion, I thought it was riveting. Because with both guys with that one punch power, well, both guys, it was very tension filled, and you could see the changes in level. You could see the IQ of Tank Davis, and Ryan just never took it to another level. He never made any other adjustments, and that's probably because he couldn't.
Yeah, and the only adjustment he made was later, I think, in the second half of the 6th round, when he started utilizing his right hand after Tank took away his left hook. And the thing that I was stunned about it. It was just, I mean, I wasn't stunned, but it's just that all that Ryan did when getting clipped in the second round is he got Tank comfortable with his timing. And at that point, Tank was pretty much where Tank would start maybe round 4 or 5, starting to heat up. He could start from round 2, because at that point you have Ryan who's hurt, and you pretty much have his timing down on his best weapon, and you have already taken it away.
Pushing the tempo as a result. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, Ryan got gunshot.
Yep. And so once again, you look at, and here to there has the beat. Joseph, I think Ryan's deficiencies in footwork and balance killed him. Tank won the battle of positioning all night. Absolutely. Yes, he did. One fighter has great feet. The other one, boy, I tell you what, I'll bet you his date at the prom can attest to that. Oh my gosh, dude. Ryan's footwork is atrocious. Even the way he lines up on the inside. This stuff is elementary. Now, once again, I've told you guys all of this. I'll tell you what really has done. Golden Boy has really done a real amateur standout like Ryan Garcia, a great disservice in piling up these 1-2 round knockouts consecutively, not giving him the seasoning that he needs at the 4, 6, and 8 round level. Now he's at the championship stage, and guess what? He's accumulated so many bad habits because he fell in love with his power. Now what? Now you hear, Junior, what you gonna do?
The thing that was just so surprising is during the lead up of this fight, Tank Davis was pretty much calling out Ryan for all of these deficiencies. And in my head, I'm like, he's not going to just fight Tank how he's been fighting his past 20. He's going to try to work on those. He just has to.
You know, especially with all the work he's been potentially ostensibly been doing with Joe Goosen. Absolutely. What the hell has Joe Goosen taught him?
Like, mind you, I thought, like you said, I thought he decided not to take that tune-up fight in January in order to, 1, cut weight properly, like you said, and 2, give him more time to just work on his current deficiencies in regards to either his footwork, his upper body movement, his positioning, but his
jab, feints, anything.
Yeah, he didn't look any different. It was almost as if Joe Goosen didn't really do anything.
Well, look, Joe Goosen is predominantly known throughout the boxing community as one of the best at adding new wrinkles to an already established fighter. That tells me, look, if you can do that to Chico Corrales, add new wrinkles to him, you can do that to anybody, for anybody, right? That tells me that Ryan was predominantly focused on his conditioning, trying to make that weight.
I agree.
That's what that told me. And I will say this, guys, don't feel bad. Everyone was crying about the weight, and I understand. That takes a lot of the luster away from the matchup because, you know, it takes away the entire age-old adage of may the best man win. Because obviously you're not seeing the best of both fighters if you're weight cutting and weight draining your opponent. But don't feel bad for Ryan, guys. Most feel, and I spilled the beans on Jem's show, right? What the trade-off was and what no one is reporting. And you know what? I'm going to write an article about that tomorrow. How do you like that? Thanks for bringing that up and reminding me of this. Guys, the trade-off, don't feel bad for Ryan because he's laughing his ass off all the way to the bank.
Of course.
He got a 50-50 split for agreeing to do that weight cut.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Now that I didn't know.
No one does, unfortunately. Yeah. And so it's time that everyone does. Thank you for reminding me that. I'm going to work on that article tonight. You're going to see it tomorrow on one of the various periodicals that I write for. I'm gonna try to give it to Dougie. I think he would actually be interested in something like that. I haven't published on Ring TV in a really long time. So I'm gonna try to give it to Dougie. And if he doesn't respond in time, I'll shoot it over to Keith and Jake on Boxing Scene because it's imperative that everyone understand this. Don't feel bad for Ryan. He agreed to this. And why did he agree to this? Well, it's a nice little trade-off, 50% of the proceeds, right?
And with 1.2 to 1.4 million buys, as well as the gate itself,
Yep.
I mean, I can't. You would probably have a better estimate of how much both him and Tank made for this fight.
Oh my
So.
gosh, dude. Enough to where people are doubting whether or not Ryan's ever going to fight again.
I mean, I said that before the fight.
He's set for life, brother. He is set for life. And once again, we're going to get into that, brother. And I want to thank our brother Low Clarity for joining us. It's always a pleasure to see you on the panel or on the chat room, brother. Thanks for dropping it up, fellas. Always appreciate your perspectives. Yes, it is a real treat tonight that I'm being joined by the always astute Joey Gems. How do you like that? But I tell you what, guys, it's been a hard week for me, brother. So I'm going to open a little bottle. And once again, I'm being the host, so I can't overdo it. But I'm going to crack open a little bottle and share my first shot of Sweet Amber with all of you. Here's to you, Joey. Here's to everyone in the chat. You guys are all a sight for sore eyes. I missed you guys dearly over the past week. God bless all of you.
God bless.
Yum, yum. Oh, ooh. Man, it's been my first shot of the week, and that one hit me. Well, I also want to give a big shout out to my brother, John McSmith. Okay, John, I have to ask you this, and I love you, brother, and it's great to see you on the chat. Do you now understand what was at stake for this super fight? Something a lot more scarce than a mere title. Ryan had the opportunity to become the quote-unquote face of boxing had he won. But Joey, who on earth picked Ryan Garcia to win this fight?
Very few people, and most of the people who picked him, they didn't really have good arguments.
Betting with their heart. Yeah. Betting with their heart.
Because stylistically, it was a nightmare from the jump. Like, Ryan Garcia showed already flashes of fear in this fight with Luke Campbell. From there, it was already you didn't really like his chances, and then he never really improved drastically since then. He showed a little bit of improvements against Javier Fortuna, but nothing for where he could expect the Tank fight to just win. Like, I don't know. I just never could really get behind Ryan and understand what he could do other than land that left hook, which, as we all saw, he was taken away from him.
Yeah. Hold on. Hold on. Check this out. My brother Low Clarity says, I'm having some gin. Cheers. Cheers to you, brother. I love me some gin. And it's funny. I used to bartend, and when I bartended my way through college and then kept bartending because I was making so much money, well, I was a slinger. I was a gun. I was one of the fastest bartenders in San Antonio. And I thank my previous boxing career for that. Right? Man, I had fast hands. Anyway, I learned all of things. I learned everything about the primary liquors: bourbon, scotch, vodka, gin, rum, tequila. Right? I've learned everything about it, all of my cordials. I know over 300 different drink recipes, right? I still know all of those. So gin is very different. Gin is very aromatic, and it's unlike any other liquor. So you get a completely different buzz drinking gin. And, fun thing is, if you drink it with tonic or club soda, boy, it lights up in the club. It almost looks fluorescent. And there it is. But yeah, if you don't know, and if you've never tried gin, try it if you're used to drinking other liquors, because it gives you a very different buzz. It's very aromatic, distilled and made from a lot of different ingredients, a lot of different plants, right? That's why it smells like pine cones. And there it is. Oh, look at this. John, too, drinking with us, a wee dram of the 12-year-old Balvenie. I love it. Love it. Dude, I love scotch too, man. I love it, brother. And he says, super fight, face of boxing. Joe, are you sure that's your first drink? Brother, if you're still completely oblivious to what was truly at stake. Now, once again, you look at the pay-per-view numbers. You look at everyone. putting the unofficial crown as the face of boxing on Tank Davis over the past week, then, sir, I'm going to have to call you out and call you a hater because you seem to be oblivious or obtuse to the reality of this.
Oh,
and once again, I think you're just saying that just to be funny. That's what I think. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, my friend. I understand, and I know that you're smarter than the average bear, brother. Go ahead, Joey. I'm sorry, sir.
No, you're fine. But when I saw those numbers, because I'm gonna be honest, at best I thought I was with Steven Espinoza when it came to predicting these numbers and seeing how well it would do. And when it exceeded my expectations, and as well as Tank winning the fight, which didn't, but still the numbers, I'm like, well, I don't think Canelo, let alone any quote unquote superstar at this point, can hit those numbers with any opponent. I don't think I'm not entirely confident that Canelo Benavidez.
In my opinion, Joey, and this is just my opinion, if Canelo elects to fight David Benavidez in September instead of Dimitri Bivol, yes, it's going to rival those numbers, if not exceed them. That is a super fight. Guys, don't discount Canelo just yet. And once again, everyone's having that debated topic. Well, did Tank surpass Canelo? No, guys. Now, once again, I will say it's much healthier for the sport if we have 2 faces of boxing, even 3, 4, 5. Guys, it's so much better for the sport to have all, like, the more the merrier, guys. Embrace it and applaud it. Guys, this is great for the sport. Okay, this is great for the sport. He goes, yeah, I got tonic. Yeah, that's the way I used to drink it. Quinine. Yeah, I love tonic water. It's made from quinine. John McSmith says, juniper berries and gin give me the poops. We didn't need to know that, brother, but thank you. Thank you for disclosing that. Yeah, he's right on the money, too. He says, different hangover on gin. I don't drink it. Yes, it is. It's a very different hangover and a very different buzz. And if you've never tried it, guys, go try it for the first time. Live a little. Now, here's a very, very interesting question. He says, here to there, says, Joseph, who could Tank fight next? Honestly, I can't see him taking on Haney or Shakur. Frank Martin, as he is in-house, might be the best case realistically. Not if he wants to make big pay-per-view dollars. Guys, make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. Now that he's gotten a taste of that kind of success, do you really think he's going to be happy fighting a Frank Martin?
Absolutely not. It wouldn't even be logical.
Look, the primary candidate, and now that, well, he has the always passionate Mexican fight fans or the Hispanic fight fans in America hating him. Mark my words, guys. When he gets out of the Huskow, it's going to be Isaac Cruz again. Make no mistake about it, guys. Make no mistake. Go ahead, Joey. What are your thoughts, brother?
I thought it would be potentially Rolly Romero, depending on if he's successful against on May 13th.
That might be the case. And he's a very, very popular. He's capable of selling the fight, but Hispanics don't give a shit about Rolly Romero.
That's true.
And once again, that's the equation. Look, it's no coincidence. Once again, why this pay-per-view did so much better than everything else that he's done up to this point, including a fight with Rolly Romero. Why do you think that is?
Oh, because of
it garnered the interest of the Hispanic fight fan. Hate to say it, guys, but once again, on a mainstream and casual level, they are the demographic that single-handedly has been keeping this sport afloat at the mainstream level. Why do you think Canelo is so popular? Why do you think De La Hoya was? Even the Mexicutioner, Manny Pacquiao.
I mean,
they were like, well, if you can't beat him, join him. They supported him.
There were even some villains from Mexico, like Ricardo Mayorga, that helped sell fights. So.
Oh, well, he's from Nicaragua.
Ah, excuse me.
But yeah, he was a very popular fighter among Hispanics.
Absolutely.
Like, how could you not love the banter and the trash talk of Mayorga. And once again, he brilliantly played the villain in that De La Hoya fight. And once again, he wasn't on the same level as Oscar De La Hoya. And everyone knew it going into that fight. But damn, we had to see it. We had to see this guy get his comeuppance, didn't we?
Yeah.
It made for great drama, man. I tell you what, that countdown special that Ross Greenberg made, it started everything. Remember, before that countdown special, they didn't have those little 30-minute pre-fight segments, right?
Yeah.
That started everything. That started the countdown 24/7, all access. That started everything. And that just took boxing to another level for in attracting the mainstream and casual fight fan.
Yeah, because
once again, you've got to give him that backstory, right?
Because that backstory, it although maybe hardcore boxing fans may not be, but that's not what sells. That's like it. Stories sell to the media. People want to hear about what happened that's not boxing related, like in regards to their life, what brought them into the sport, what occurred during the sport, if they've had any rises, any downfalls outside of the sport, whether it's drug related, family related. People are interested.
Yes. If people have a vested interest in one or both fighters, yeah, it makes them invested in the fight, right? And that's just been proven over time. And this is why, honestly, I can tell you, this is what started my career as a boxing writer. I love the stories. I love the backstories of these fighters, everything that they've gone through to get to this point. It's amazing. It's unlike any other athlete in America. Something to behold. Now, I'm going to bring this up one more time. Super Fight Face of Boxing. Joe, are you sure that's your first drink? Well, I will say this. Everyone shitting on this event leading up to it, they kept telling me, oh, Devin Haney, man, he's the real champ. Oh, he's got all the titles. He's the real champ of 135. Okay, well, who's calling out who currently? Do you hear Tank calling out Devin Haney or the other way around? Why is that, John? Because Tank has something that Haney desperately wants and needs at this time. Something more scarce than even a unified label of any one division. And that's mainstream attraction. That's being a big pay-per-view commodity. Haney, I guarantee you this, Haney would easily dump all 5 belts in the trash, including the ring, if it meant getting what Tank Davis currently has.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. That's what was truly at stake in the Ryan fight, whether you like it or not, brother. And there it is. Want to give a shout out to my brother G Funky. Joe is like Tom Cruise in Cocktail. You know what, brother? I was much more efficient and much faster than Tom Cruise, but yes, I really enjoyed making drinks. That was awesome. It was a lot of fun when I was a kid. Gosh, especially for the girls. My goodness. Anyway, in 2023, the wish list year for boxing, let's keep the trend going. Guys, this is going to be a tremendous year. And yes, the next great fight announced is going to be Crawford Spence, guys. I'm thinking, from what I've been told, don't be shocked if this fight is announced as early as next week. Right? Low Clarity says, Tank had a mole. Tell him Ryan can get hurt to the body. Brother, if you think that was a factor in the fight, then you need to go to Jem's film study. Peter says, Haney will never have mainstream attraction, in my opinion. Well, brother, and that may be the case. Once again, there is no rhyme or reason why fans choose to gravitate towards a specific fighter and not another, right? It's just like the music business. Why the hell does everyone love Taylor Swift? Is she the best looking woman in music? Far from it. Does she write the best songs? Nope. Does she have the best voice? No. yet she is the most popular female musician at this time. There is no rhyme. Look at Bad Bunny. What the hell is his appeal?
That's a great question.
Yeah, his music is hot garbage, if you want to call it music. Yet he is now the biggest selling, he has the biggest selling tour of all time, surpassing U2, surpassing Dave Matthews, surpassing The Who, the Rolling Stones. Does it make sense? Absolutely not.
It's just what people, it's what people like.
Right. So our last topic now, once again, Joey, and I want to get your opinions on this, right? Did Ryan Garcia quit, or was he incapable of physically competing at that time any further?
Well, speaking as someone who's been in the ring, someone who's sparred, but I will admit, I've never gotten hit with a full-fledged body shot to the liver and been exposed like that. But I do know people that have, and they said that it is easily the worst pain in the world. I've known people who have gotten up from it. I've known people who haven't. But I honestly, I'm going to say he couldn't get up. I'm going to say he couldn't get up. And I know that might be against, people want to say he quit and everything, but in reality, I just don't think he did. And some people I've seen people say, oh, well, he immediately got up after, as soon as the 10 count. Well, so did Luke Campbell when Ryan Garcia hit him at the same point with the same liver shot. That's just like, you just need to be in the ring to understand that there's not a shot more painful in boxing. I'd rather get knocked out cold from either the chin or be discombobulated to the temple than go through the pain of not being able to breathe from a liver shot. It's excruciating.
Yep. And so many fighters that I know and that I've talked to post-fight insist that, you know what, if you've ever gotten knocked out, even in sparring with the 16-ounce gloves, if you've ever been knocked out with a body shot, with a shot to the liver, you can't breathe and you feel like you're going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is debilitating, to say the least. But does that even matter? Does that even matter at this point? Does it even matter whether or not that's a reality or not? No, and I'll tell you why, guys. And I'm getting ready to go on a rant, right? In the often unfair business of boxing, years of accomplishment can be erased by one single miscalculation, or in this specific circumstance, rampant fan perception, right? So does it even matter whether or not he could have gotten up or not? No. And it's a moot point because everyone believes that he quit. Everyone believes that he quit. People in the business, Mexican fight fans, on the biggest stage of boxing, they saw you quit. At least in their minds they did.
Especially
right?
Chavez.
And look, in any entertainment field, music, movies, boxing is no different. Perception quickly becomes reality, right? So many of Garcia's harshest critics are now claiming that his career is finished. Mike Tyson came out and said, well, you might as well just retire, son. Is that the reality? They genuinely believe that Ryan Garcia lacks the gonads, the intestinal fortitude, the heart, as well as the mental and physical toughness to compete at the elite level. And I hate to say this, his altercation with his own brain, suffering from depression, anxiety, that didn't help in everyone's assessment at this time. Okay? So I'll tell you what, is that the reality? It doesn't matter. In boxing, perception from the real bosses of boxing quickly becomes reality, whether it's true or not. That's the reality, guys. But, and I'm asking you, Joey, does he have the stuff to redefine how everyone views him? Like, I'm going to give you an example, brother. Back in the year 2000, on April Fool's Day, Vitaly Klitschko defended his WBO title against the sizable underdog Chris Bird. It took place in Germany, right? And after 9 rounds of action, upon leading the contest on all judges' scorecards, Vitaly Klitschko shocked the world and quit on his stool because of a terrible torn rotator cuff injury in his left shoulder. Do you remember the HBO broadcast team, how they reacted? And I've got it. It's quotes from Larry Merchant. He doesn't have the mentality of a champion. I can hardly believe just what I saw. You have a bad hand? So what? He was way ahead. All he had to do was play defense and survive 3 more rounds, and he retains the title. This is totally unacceptable, Jim. A fighter should be able to fight when he's hurt. That's the first duty of a real professional fighter, and certainly of a champion. Perhaps the difference, Jim, is that Klitschko got his PhD in sports science from a university and not from the School of Hard Knocks. End quote. That's what they were saying. Now, fast forward to 2018, and he just got inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. How? Well, Vitaly Klitschko, once again, 3 months after his little brother Vladimir was knocked out in dramatic fashion by last-minute opponent Corey the Sniper Sanders, God rest his soul, in March of 2003. Well, Klitschko felt compelled to compete and defend the family honor when he took on unified heavyweight champion, all-time great Lennox Lewis. Despite falling short, well, you know what? He put forth that truly inspired effort that seemed to capture the imagination of fight fans around the world. Although the referee in charge at the time, Dr. Lou Moret, officially called a halt to the contest in the 6th round due to that horrendous gash over the left eye. Every fight fan in attendance, as well as those watching at home, marveled at the courage, heart, and toughness displayed by the brave Ukrainian. And after one memorable, breathtaking performance, everyone around the world seemed to forget about the Chris Bird debacle, which happened 3 years prior, even in a loss. So, Joey, I tell you, it's not impossible to redefine the perception of others in boxing, but it truly takes a courageous and awe-inspiring performance, one where you have to dig deep. So I'm asking you right now, brother, here's a $1 million question for you, Joey. Is Ryan Garcia capable of such a feat, doing something like Dr. Iron Fist? Do you believe he's got the stuff?
Well, I got two answers. One's a question, the other's an answer. I'll start with the question first for you, Joseph. First one being, in regard to that Vitaly Klitschko example, do you think the media would have been the exact same way if he would have quit the stool against Lennox Lewis and then went and then lost 6 and went and fought courageously against Chris Bird? You think he would have got the same attention and respect?
You know what? That's a great question. And hell no, I know it's a rhetorical question, brother, by you. You're smart. Great point, though, my friend, but that's not the way it played out. So, once again, do you think that Ryan, though, now keep in mind, rewind back to 2003, right?
Right.
Against the man of the heavyweight division, and you've got half your eye hanging off your face, and you're complaining to Dr. Lou Moret that you still want the fight to continue, that you can see, and you're kicking his ass, you're leading on all the judges' scorecards, and you're pissed beyond belief. Like they saw him, everyone at the old forum, the old Staples Center, right? They, like, everyone saw him like, no, you're not going to rob me of this opportunity. I'm winning the fight, damn it. Is Ryan capable of doing that?
Truthfully, in my opinion, I never felt like Ryan was capable before the Tank fight. And my opinion hasn't changed afterwards. And the thing is, it's just he's moving up in in one of the most stacked divisions, if the not most stacked division in
Oh,
all of boxing.
and it's probably the most underrated at this time.
Exactly. Like this
Oh,
division, the first 15 or 20 fighters in terms of just overall skill and talent, it's deep.
yep.
So unless Ryan is just has an incredible matchmaker for where they could potentially, and if it's not Tank Davis, maybe it's Ryan Garcia, who I believe is currently ranked in the WBA, get an opportunity to fight the winner of Rolly Romero and Barroso. I don't really see any other successful route for him, especially against the true elite level, as such as the Prograis and the Taylors, or even the Teofimo Lopez's. So no, I don't believe at the absolute top of the 140 chain, Ryan Garcia has a chance to redeem himself and prove that he's not what people currently see him as.
Yep. And look, you know, and once again, when you consider Vitaly Klitschko quitting on his stool because of the rotator cuff, he could barely lift that left arm when you look at the fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you look at his chin. Had you ever seen anyone truly hurt besides Corey Sanders a year later? Did you ever see anyone hurt Vitaly Klitschko throughout his entire storied career?
No.
Did you?
Yeah, no, that was the mental fortitude of Vitaly Klitschko in terms of what he was able to endure. So you can only imagine.
Legendary, brother.
So if he said he
Now
couldn't
look at
continue,
Ryan in comparison, brother.
yeah, like
Dude, how many times have we seen him hurt? Okay, Tank threw 2 solid target punches in that fight. He went down both times, and the second time he didn't get up.
yeah,
Luke Campbell, best flush shot he landed throughout the entire fight in the second round. Guess what? Floored Ryan Garcia. Does he have the physical durability to compete in the, well, think about this. How would Ryan Garcia currently fare against Gary Antoine Russell or Subriel Matias?
I think I'd close my eyes for that fight. Yeah, like I'm not one of these fans. I'm not one of these fans that just enjoy seeing a fighter just get brutalized like that. I'm truly not. I love boxing, but I enjoy fights, not executions. And that's what I personally feel that fight would be, especially against those two. Those are just, like I said, horrible matchups. Hell, I'm pretty sure both of them are even southpaws. If not, Gary Antoine Russell certainly is.
Yep. So once again, though, we've got a more reasonable assignment possibly looming in the distance for Ryan Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
And because he's got that popularity in his corner, he could potentially get it, right?
Absolutely.
I could conceivably see him getting easily the winner of Teofimo Lopez, Josh Taylor. Now, once again, he's now, and most people don't realize this, he's a free agent now.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. That was his last fight on contract with Golden Boy Promotions.
Interesting. Makes more sense of how things played out after the fight in regards to Bernard Hopkins.
Well, no. I'm going to give you the skinny, brother. And once again, you're not going to see me write about this, obviously, but I'm going to tell you guys, my closest boxing friends, everyone in the chat, you, Joey. Here's the sad truth. And this is one of the reasons why I truly believe Oscar De La Hoya should do everyone a favor and just be the golden boy again. Just get out of the promotional racket because you're a flake, brother. Okay, everyone that was in attendance at these media events and ringside told me, like more than one person, that you were messed up for the entire week, either drunk or doing something else.
I knew it.
And that you were under the influence of something, brother. So that's the real reason why he wasn't at the post-fight press conference. Not death threats. That's bullshit.
It doesn't even sound logical to me. Like that excuse was so, like, no one bought that.
So you heard it here first, brother.
It just
Golden Boy, he was a flake at the post-fight press conference because he was messed up.
It sounds way more professional. That's the reality, brother. You were threatened. It sounds way more professional saying you were threatened. You received death threats than to say I was too high and drunk in order to be with my fighter, my top fighter who just lost in the biggest fight of their career.
Look, like I often like to say on this show, that's a bunch of rubbish.
What about Bernard Hopkins, Joseph? If you have any information about that?
Well, I don't have any information on B-Hop, but once again, there's a reason why it's called Golden Boy Promotions. He could have been there and it wouldn't have mattered. Everyone would have still been questioning why Oscar wasn't there, right?
But just the fact that...
Go ahead, sir.
But the fact that Bernard Hopkins included wasn't there was just a cherry on top.
Yep. Yeah. And, and once again, guys, I have to laugh. And because of the situation that happened to me, I wasn't even able to watch the fight live. Really? I had to watch the replay of it. Yeah. So I didn't know what had happened. And so I look up on YouTube and everyone, this fake news from these lesser channels. What does Gems call them? House Husbands of Boxing?
Yep. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So I look up these headlines. Oh, everyone abandons Ryan Garcia. Oscar De La Hoya claims you're never going to work with Golden Boy Promotions ever again. And I'm like, what the hell happened? And I make some calls. And yeah, it's nothing but a bunch of nonsense. Guys, once again, and because you're here, I know that you guys aren't guilty of this, but just completely ignore all of these channels. And what I want to know, Gems, or Joey, how on earth do any of these channels have so many subscribers? And they're doing these boxing fans that are thirsty for news. They're doing them a great disservice by feeding them bullshit.
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to go back in terms of go back in time a few years ago when I actually got involved in the YTBC to begin with. And I was actually a moderator for one of these channels a few years ago. I won't disclose which one, obviously, but I was. And I myself can say I was fooled or into believing that what they were providing was truthful. It was genuine.
No. Foolish isn't the word. It's ignorant. And I mean that from its truest literal sense. It means that you just didn't know.
Yeah, I just didn't know. I genuinely did. But as I continued, I saw the path of where this was going, and I realized this was not for the. I realized that these channels were not here for the actual health of the sport, but really for the health of themselves, and that creating controversy through either just untruthful claims in terms of your thumbnails, it just attracts attention. For where it would just get a bunch of people, even though they were just like, when you actually hear the video, it was either a blatant lie or it didn't even discuss what the thumbnail that got most people's attention was talking about in the first place.
Rubbish, guys. Rubbish. And once again, stay far away from those channels. Yeah, no.
Those channels, although maybe quote unquote entertaining, most of them have have narratives that just just completely just poison the sport and the boxing fans around it. I've seen many of those fans go on Gems' channel and try to spout that same nonsense. And it's just
gosh, you remember the guy I got fed up with last weekend before the fight?
Yeah.
He goes, oh man, Ryan Garcia is dangerous. I'm like, brother, your breath is dangerous. Shut up. Shut up, dude. Like, and I had to leave. I couldn't stand hearing none of that nonsense any longer.
Yeah, I muted myself throughout that. I was actually during that time when everybody was, I decided to run errands because I was like, this is the type of conversation I don't need to be involved in. But
Oh gosh, I feel like I lose IQ points if I sit and listen to that garbage.
no, absolutely.
Chingao,
Like I
Chingao.
would,
Hey, hold on, brother. Hold on, Joey. Want to give a shout out to my brother Pharrell Parker for joining us tonight. Happy Friday to you. He said, Joseph, do you think the winner of Spence Crawford becomes the face of boxing as well? I'm gonna, because of that laugh, I'm gonna hand this question off to you, Joey.
absolutely not. Not even the
and
slightest.
and why is that, Joey?
These it's like you mentioned before. There's many reasons, but one of the biggest is that these two haven't been proven to be pay-per-view commodities. And on top of that, like the interest in this fight has just diminished since the
Yep.
past year. The
Yep.
the height of this fight was literally this month, a year ago, it was at its highest after Spence had defeated Yordenis Ugas. And now at this point, every time someone sees a reportedly set date or potentially coming up next, I see most people like in the comments section or chat saying this, like, who cares anymore?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, when the
And
fight is
look.
announced, that might change, but at the current moment, no one's interested in hearing when it might come out.
Well, and also once again, they're how do you say? They are regional commodities. Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford. They both attract fans in their regional area exclusively.
Yeah.
Like you can't put either one of them in New York or LA or Vegas and expect them to really sell out a place like T-Mobile Arena.
No.
You can't do it. Once again, there's a reason why, guys, Steven Espinosa and everyone involved with Tank versus Ryan were so desperate to make this fight a reality. Because they understood, hey, we need something that's going to appeal to the mainstream and casual sports fan in America. When is the last time you've seen two Americans on this stage? When?
I actually, like, that's an excellent question. I don't remember.
Yeah, the last time you saw two Americans on this stage, and once again, one being of Mexican descent. That's Floyd versus De La Hoya.
De La Hoya, yeah.
That's how long it's been, guys.
And if you want to specifically regards in terms of Spence and Crawford, like anything in regards to that, I would go as far as maybe even Tyson Holyfield.
Like, yeah. Yep. Yeah. And once again, guys, these events are very rare indeed. And that was, once again, at stake. That was one of the big things at stake here. Once again, the future of Showtime Sports. What? The future of boxing on Paramount Plus, Showtime, CBS. Guys, this was huge for your beloved boxing in America. I cannot stress that enough. And if anyone tries to discount this fight any further, the meaning and the severity of this event doing well, then I don't know what else to tell you guys, because everything was at stake for Showtime Sports in this event. Right? Can't stress that enough. But thank you for joining us, Pharrell. God bless you, brother. And I will say this, Sid UK. Do you remember, Sid, that comment you made a long time ago on Ronnie Shields' show that, hey, seems that Dave Morrell Jr. has turned into the hitman for Canelo Alvarez in the WBA, taking care of all of his light work, taking care of all of his mandatory challengers. Guess what, brother? There's a very good possibility now. I talked about that, and I issued that in a video article on my channel, as well as an article I published on Boxing News 24 yesterday, or the day before yesterday. It seems now that David Morrell Jr. is now going to consider, and is currently considering, using the moniker of El Sicario. Thanks to you, Sid. So, hey, brother, you guys make a difference. The real bosses of boxing. And once again, El Sicario, for anyone who doesn't speak Spanish, it's the hitman for the cartels. Sicario, right? And so Yeah, Dave Morrell, more than likely in his next fight, is going to be using the ring moniker El Sicario because he, for all intents and purposes, have become Canelo's hitman in the WBA, discharging Canelo Alvarez of all of his sanctioning organization responsibilities for the WBA, Gilberto Mendoza. Now, let me ask you this, Joey.
Absolutely. Okay, go ahead.
Rhetorical question. Rhetorical question. How many mandatory challengers has he faced for the WBA since winning that distinction by beating Callum Smith in December of 2020?
Less than Morrell.
Keep in mind, we're in 2023.
Yeah.
Zero. Zilch. Bumkiss. Zero.
That's not going to change.
Now that's once again, and you understand that why. You understand why, because the WBA, as long as they can still tax Canelo 3% of his massive purse, they're not going to force his hand in anything. That belt is so much, it's worth so much more around his waist than Dave Morrell Jr. at the current time.
Of course.
That's why. And once again, that's the lack of power of the WBA.
Now, what about the WBC, if I may ask? Like, because
same situation, brother. Same damn situation. Right? Same situation. They're not going to force his hand to do a damn thing.
Oh, so this whole thing about the Benavidez plant winner being the quote-unquote man, how many times has David Benavidez fought in a fight after saying that he was going to become the mandatory for Canelo Alvarez? I think this is the fourth fight.
Well, just like Dave Morrell Jr. winning this distinction, the WBA regular title back in 2020, or 2021 rather, that's how long he's been the mandatory challenger for Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
Technically. Because you look at their efforts, and to be fair to WBA, they've over the past year since they've been under scrutiny for having an interim champion, a regular champion, and a super champion in every division. 3 title holders in their sanctioning organization in every division. Right?
Right.
To their credit, though, they've taken great efforts in consolidating the interim and regular and super champion in most divisions. But you're not going to see them put forth that same effort at 168, and you already know why.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
Or 135, if you ask me. But not in regards to the super champion, but I think in terms of the regular champion.
Yep.
Yeah.
And once again, so anyone who's in line for those, and in the words of Coach Ronnie Shields, man, we're not going to hold our breath any longer. Oh, boy. And we want to thank our brother HLD for coming on the show or being in the chat. Thank you, my brother. It's good to see you here. So that is a perfect segue into one of his favorite fighters, a personal friend, Teofimo Lopez.
Oh.
Now, once again, he stated, and everyone is rolling with this absurd narrative. Oh, see that? He's racist.
No, he's not racist, but...
No, he's not. He's just an ignorant fighter.
Exactly, which is not as bad, but still pretty bad in the sense that I feel like... Now, Joseph, you could correct me, but I feel like he's putting this... If this fight wasn't already a must-win, he's kind of making it as such, in the sense that these claims of, 1, leading ESPN, 2, he's already losing a community, potentially. And as well as that, he's just not on the... It's one thing to be the underdog in this fight, but it's another thing to be the underdog people want to lose in this fight as well. So, because at that point, you're not really a commodity anymore.
Well, look, his biggest issue, and this has been the case since winning the Lomachenko fight, he has an inflated sense of worth.
Yeah.
And he truly, I don't know why. I have no idea why, because he's around some of the smartest people in boxing in terms of his promotion and management. Top rank, as well as his manager, whose name eludes me at this time. Forgive me, guys. But after the Lomachenko victory, because of the huge ratings during COVID, and winning the undisputed distinction at 35, he truly believed that he could write his own ticket and he was going to start making Floyd Mayweather money.
Yeah.
Right? So when it came time for his IBF mandatory challenge against George Kambosos Jr., and they said, well, look, because of COVID restriction, we cannot put this fight in Australia, which is where this fight makes the most money. We're going to have to put it in New York or wherever, where it's a fraction of that. So we're only going to be able to pay you this much money. And they felt insulted. Team Teofimo Lopez. And so you saw what happened. They held out for more money, got the Triller purse bid victory, and you saw what happened because of their unprofessionalism.
Yeah.
Right? And where's Triller now? They still in boxing? No. And so then DAZN was the second runner-up, right? It was the runner-up. And so they got the purse bid. They won the purse bid. So they staged that fight. And how was Teofimo's reaction when he lost?
Oh, terrible. It just, if anything, that dropped his stock even more.
Yep. And guess what? He still thinks he's a much bigger ticket seller than a guy like Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
And so, guys, if you must know, he's not a racist guy, because once again, if you're a prize fighter and you spar and you have a good relationship with everyone in the sport, fighters, managers, trainers, everyone, guys, you don't have a racist bone in your body. Like in every major gym, once again, this is truly a global sport, a lot like the NBA or the MLB. Now you have athletes from all over the world, from every ethnicity, participating. And boxing has been like that forever. Okay, so what Teofimo Lopez actually meant, okay, he meant this. You know, if they want to go with guys who are non-ticket sellers, non-ratings draws, then let them have that, because I'm a legitimate ratings draw. I'm a legitimate ticket seller. But Teofimo, are you really?
Yeah.
Brother, you're at Madison Square Garden, but you're at the theater.
Yeah. I noticed that. Why was it that he's in the Hulu theater for the Josh Taylor fight, but he fought at MSG with the Sandor Martin fight?
Why do you think?
Oh,
because it didn't sell
it didn't
shit.
sell. It didn't sell.
It didn't
Yeah.
sell shit. Dude, it was so disappointing. So now he's back to the Hulu theater. Because that's what, capacity 5,000 maybe?
Yeah, 5,000.
They have no confidence that he's going to sell, because once again, his mouth and the fact that he hasn't looked very good since moving up to 140. And once again, don't get me wrong, I really like Teofimo. At one point in time, I thought he had the potential of becoming one of the biggest stars of the sport.
As did I.
Because of his athletic gifts and his mouth.
Mhm.
Before all of this rubbish came out of it, man, he had charisma. And he was an exciting fighter to watch at 35. Now, Chingao, honestly, and he comes out and says, oh, this is my last fight with ESPN. You know what? If they want those black fighters, they can have them. Brother, you'd better win this fight, because if you lose to Josh Taylor, you might as well retire. You might as well retire.
He's making this fight into a must win. Or if it wasn't already, that's why I said if it wasn't already, he made it into one. I don't know if he's doing this for himself in terms of motivate. I don't know why he's digging himself into this hole, because if he loses this, you've already gone on record, and it's not as if this was just on YouTube, it spread like wildfire. It's on news articles. It's all over the internet about what
Yep.
happened. So
Yep.
so your popularity may have grown. You may be trending now, but it's because of negative publicity.
Yeah,
But
you're becoming notorious, not beloved.
yeah. So as a result of that, if you do all of this and then fall short, and fall short in a spectacular way at that, well, this might be the end of Teofimo Lopez.
And that's a damn shame,
Yeah.
because this is a guy who had a huge ceiling. You could say a limitless ceiling in this business. Now, and once again, you can't fault for Teofimo Lopez feeling this way. Once again, in terms of saying, yeah, if you want to roll with supporting non-ticket sellers, okay, go ahead. Because a lot of people in the business, including fans, including trainers, fighters, managers, they all feel this, like a lot of them feel this way. Like, think about this. And once again, there's a huge misnomer that, well, blacks can't sell in boxing in America. That demographic just does not pay for fights. They don't support their boxing. They'd rather support the NBA or something else. The NFL, anything else. They just don't support boxing monetarily. And a lot of people point to this past pay-per-view. Well, the reason why this pay-per-view sold was because of Ryan Garcia. Tank Davis, boy, he never had decent numbers before this. Now you look at Ryan Garcia now attracting the Mexican fight audience, and look at this. Look at the numbers as a result. Unfortunately, a lot of people feel this way. Is that the truth? No. Look at Floyd Mayweather. Guys, that guy could sell in his prime. Now, once again, it was all contingent. You can't discount him having purposely handpicked Hispanic challengers, right?
Oh, yeah. And doing it on specific months.
But yeah, exactly. Hey, Cinco de Mayweather? Yeah, of course. And he picked those two Mexican holidays for a reason. So you can't discount. There's a lot of credibility and validity to what Teofimo meant, but he needs a publicist in the worst way.
Exactly. It's just,
gosh, because the way it comes out of his mouth is absolutely toxic, brother.
Yeah, because like you said, Teofimo Lopez is more than likely or probably isn't racist at all. But that's not like you said, it's all about perception. And unfortunately, at this current moment, that's not the perception right now. No one wants to hear the excuses or people defending him. No, because that's not what it looks like right now. People seem like, no, he said what he said because this is exactly what he meant. And that's how it's running, especially in the YTBC. So
when you hear any moron roll with this narrative that Teofimo Lopez is a racist, guys, turn and run. Turn and run. But I will say this, my brother Outlaw has the beat. Teofimo Lopez is delusional. I think there's something wrong with him mentally. Well, brother.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah, dude. But G-Funky, very seldom do you not have the beats, and you don't have it here. He says, well, Frank Martin is a back foot fighter, only fighter, and Josh Taylor isn't. Lopez has a good chance of winning. Brother, why do you think Josh Taylor struggled against Jack Catterall? Because he's not a front foot fighter. He's a counter puncher by trade as well. Why do you think he looked so great against someone pressing the action like Regis Prograis or Jose Ramirez? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, because they come forward, they entertain his fight.
That's it. You're looking at two prolific counter punchers going to be sitting there from mid to long range waiting for the next guy to get off. And because Teofimo Lopez is in his home hamlet of New York, guess who's going to feel the need and have the onus of pressing the action? It's not going to be Josh Taylor. It's not going to be Josh Taylor. It's going to be Teofimo Lopez. Like people are going to start booing because of the lack of action, and he's going to, well, shit. Well, that's exactly what happened against George Kambosos.
Well,
Another counterpuncher by trade.
if he presses the action against Josh Taylor, this really might strongly be the end of Teofimo Lopez.
He gonna get carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah,
because that's Josh Taylor's strength. He loves fighting aggressive fighters, just like Teofimo Lopez. And if Teofimo Lopez is in front of a home crowd that starts booing, well, he's going to feel the necessity to press the action like Ryan Garcia, like Nonito Donaire against Guillermo Rigondeaux. And you see evidence of this, right? Once again, Nonito Donaire being the beloved HBO fighter, being the more popular guy at the time. He's like, well, shit, I'm a counterpuncher too, but I'm not going to tolerate these guys booing me. He's the A side. He's gonna feel that pressure of having, like, he's gonna feel the need to force the action unwisely. Guess what? He's gonna do it, and it's gonna be his undoing.
And the thing is, like, as you know, Joseph, like, I know my boxing, and I've done it. I've analyzed this fight with both Gems as well as Gabriel, who you know very well.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at this, it's just not there's not a lot of routes to victory for Teofimo Lopez. And if he decides to press the action and initiate offense against Josh Taylor,
that's going to be his undoing.
That will be his undoing, undoubtedly. The best
mark my words, brother. Mark my words, Joey. It's going to happen around the third or the fourth round. People are going to start booing. He's going to start pressing the action. It's going to feed right into Josh Taylor's strengths.
Absolutely.
G-Funky has the beat here. He says, in my opinion, Taylor's an inside to mid-range fighter. He doesn't move like Sandor Martin. No, he doesn't. But he is a prolific counterpuncher, and he feasts off of other fighters' aggression.
Especially,
yep, go ahead.
Especially aggressive fighters who, like, for those who remember, in the fight against Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez just came in overly aggressive, overcommitted, and Josh Taylor, all he did was slip and counter him and put him down. That same movement that Jose Ramirez done, Teofimo Lopez did constantly against Sandor Martin. And Josh Taylor can easily counter over that if Teo decides to overcommit, which he does. And that could be the very end of the fight.
And has much better power than Sandor Martin.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Guys, this is not looking good for Teofimo Lopez from a PR perspective or a strategic perspective. Guys, I'm fearing the worst when they finally fight. Now, I will say this in our final segment, brother. So to wrap things up, though, with Teofimo, guys, he's not a racist. He's just a damn buffoon. Yeah. And it pains me to say that because I love Teofimo. He had the potential of being one of this sport's biggest stars. And you know what? He's doing it to himself. You can't blame anyone else. He is with the right promoter. He's with the right manager.
He is.
He is doing this to himself, guys.
Like,
I don't know what else to say. You have any final thoughts on this, Joey?
Well, it goes back to when Teo was a fighter who most people liked. I remember what Stephen A. Smith said. He said against Lopez and Lomachenko, he said, I think he stated that he favored Lomachenko to defeat Lopez, but he hoped that Lopez defeated Lomachenko because he believed at that time he was good for boxing, for the future of boxing.
Hey,
and at that
brother,
time, I agreed.
Hold on real quick. Keep going on this and then go into your Lomachenko Haney preview because I've got to go take a Veda test. I'll be right back.
Gotcha. And at that time, I absolutely agreed with him because watching Teofimo Lopez, he was braggadocious, he was confident. On top of that, he was an exciting, athletic, but also still very skillful fighter. He had a mouthpiece. He was charismatic. So he just brought a new feeling or a refreshing feeling to the boxing community that felt that the sport really just lacked a face or someone who could really grab our attention both in and outside of the ring. And that's what he provided. Unfortunately, after or even during the build up to the Kambosos fight, it's almost as if Teofimo Lopez just lost that spark and just became delusional overnight. And as a result of that, he just hasn't looked the same since, both in and outside of the ring. Now, most of the time, you can't listen to Teofimo Lopez speak and just be bewildered by how he came to these wild conclusions, whether it's about ESPN or even his most recent comments about black fighters in ESPN. He's just digging himself into a hole. But yeah, so that's my final take on Teofimo Lopez and his comments and his future fight with Josh Taylor. Now, in regards to Haney Lomachenko, this is actually a fight that I'm looking forward to. If you guys know me from the Boxing Gems channel, I personally did the Haney Lomachenko film study on that. So if you have watched it, you should know who I favor and how the fight goes. But if you don't, I slightly favor Devin Haney, as Lomachenko has been defeated before, and regardless of what people think, that has a lot less to do with a injury that Lomachenko suffered and more to do with his actual issues within the ring regarding his famous footwork. His footwork is excellent when coming forward. It's not the same when moving backwards. That's where Lomachenko has a lot of limitations and is very beatable, as shown against both Teofimo Lopez and Jermaine Ortiz. And believe it or not, Devin Haney can cause these same issues. Now, whether he can sustain it is still up in the air, because I don't think anybody here would disagree that Devin Haney does not impose the same aggression as those two fighters I just mentioned. So that could be, so we don't know whether he will have a similar to same game plan. Hopefully he does, but that would be a new dimension to Devin Haney that we haven't seen over the span of 12 rounds. So unfortunately, and unlike the event we saw a week ago, I don't believe, in going to the business of boxing, I don't believe that fight will sell. I truly don't.
Oh boy. Unfortunately, from a business perspective, you're absolutely right. Once again, guys, like I always like to say, Haney couldn't sell out my living room on a Saturday night. And that's a reality. But hey, great assessment, brother. And it sounds good in theory in Devin Haney. Brother, he's not going to force the action. He's going to try to do what he does, keep everything from mid to long range. And guys, this is going to be a much more competitive fight than everyone believes.
Mm-hmm.
If one thing, right? Oh, I'm sorry about that. That's my sonny. We're going to cut this short in a bit. But if one thing, right? If the Nevada State Athletic Commission allows Devin Haney to weigh in at 9 a.m. because they understand his plight of killing himself to make 135 pounds at this point, if they do that same thing again, just like they did before the Jojo Diaz fight, then Haney is going to win this very decisively and seemingly without struggle. Also, a huge factor in this matchup, once again, we look at all the intangibles. It's going to be dependent on who they choose as referee. If they pick someone who allows him to wrap up Vasyl Lomachenko every time he attempts to close the distance, and if that referee allows it to happen, okay, forcing Lomachenko to reset and start all over, then it's going to be a very long night for Vasyl Lomachenko. Look at those two factors, guys, in determining the nature of this fight and how it plays out. Because I'm with you, brother. Once again, Devin Haney, he's going to do everything he can to keep. It sounds good strategically in him pressing the action and him forcing Lomachenko on his back foot, but he doesn't fight that way.
Yeah.
And here's why. One, like Ryan Garcia, doesn't have the greatest chin in the world. Two, he doesn't know how to fight on the inside.
Nope.
He's a donut fighter, guys. He's great from mid to long range, but he's got nothing in the inside, right? Oh. Nothing. He's completely deficient. Ask yourself, guys, why does any fighter wrap up their opponent like an octopus when they get inside. Why?
Oh, because they're not comfortable.
Exactly. And this is why it's against the rules. Excessive holding is against the rules. And why is that? Because holding is used to overcome a deficiency a fighter has. Ask yourself, why does any fighter choose to hold ever? When he's hurt? Yeah, it's because he's hurt. That's a deficiency. On the inside? Yeah, it's because he can't fight in the inside. Guys, it's not a part of boxing. It's there to cover up and make up for a deficiency a fighter has. This is why it's illegal. So trust me when I tell you this, the ref is going to be an integral part of who determines who wins. And if anyone thinks Vasyl Lomachenko doesn't have a chance, well, go back and watch some of his fights. I'll agree it's stacked up against him. Joey, when is the last time you've seen a lightweight in his prime at 35 years of age?
Another great question. None that I can think of at this current moment. You, Joseph?
Zero.
Yeah.
Bunkus. Was Shane Mosley in his prime at 35 or at 135 pounds?
No,
dude. At 35 years of age, he was already a welterweight.
Yeah.
Once again, Pernell Sweepy Whitaker, when he was wreaking havoc in the lightweight division, he wasn't 35.
He was much younger.
Yep. So, guys, Vasyl Lomachenko is up against it. He's going to be taking on, well, the very cerebral, the very athletic, the very tall, rangy, young Devin Haney. And depending on the ref, depending on when this weigh-in actually happens, yeah, it may be a very long night for Vasyl Lomachenko. But don't discount those two factors, those two intangibles, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, so Sid UK says this. Oh, don't listen to Joseph. Okay, Devin? Hug Lomachenko like a long-lost cousin if you have to. A win is a win, my man. Well, brother, once again, if you're looking to attract the casual mainstream fan, that's not the way to do it, brother. How many mainstream and casual fans did Vladimir Klitschko have in America?
Not that I can think of.
Exactly. They hated his style. What did they call it? Jab and grab? Is that what they called it?
That was it.
Yep. Well, guess what, Haney? You're going to garner that same reputation among mainstream and casuals if you win this fight that way.
But unfortunately, Joseph, like the thing with Haney, it's like you mentioned, he's not doing it because that's necessarily his style. He's doing it because he lacks the ability to fight on the inside and garner that
necessity. And because he questions his chin.
Yep. You won't see him entertain and fight on the inside like you would other lightweights as Gervonta Tank Davis or Shakur Stevenson, because they possess those tools in order to fight in that close and be comfortable. Devin Haney, in his only few fights where he's had to fight on the inside, he didn't look well. He didn't perform well at all. That's why he stayed on the outside and boxed. In those positions, he was more than vulnerable, which is a big reason for why this fight between Lomachenko could turn out to be incredibly competitive.
Well, yeah, exactly. Once again, guys, look at the Jojo Diaz fight. And once again, HLD says, weight isn't a factor versus Loma. Yes, it is. And you're completely oblivious to the reality of this matchup if you don't think so. Once again, what happened to Jojo Diaz versus Devin Haney in the back half of the fight? It became very competitive, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
What happened to the Jorge Linares matchup when he couldn't control range from long distance? When he started running out of gas, what happened?
He got cracked on the inside.
Guys, his ability, his struggle with making 135 pounds is going to be a huge factor in this. Once again, it's not just weight size, brother. It's the conditioning. It's how depleted are you making this weight? Are you killing yourself? And when are you going to have to weigh in? Is it going to be like Ryan Garcia later on in the afternoon? Or is it going to be 9 in the morning like you were able to do against Jojo Diaz?
Now, Joseph, I have $1 million question for you.
Let's hear it, brother.
This is in regards to a fight 2 weeks ago. Do you believe Devin Haney will stay at 135 to face Shakur Stevenson?
Well, I will say this. He'll stay at 135 to fight Tank Davis.
Absolutely.
But not Shakur Stevenson.
Once
again, it's a very difficult fight, and there's really no money attached to it.
Exactly. Like I've explained this. That would be a difficult fight that would be an extremely difficult fight for Devin Haney in a weight class where he was naturally comfortable in, let alone a fight for where he has to weight drain himself, fighting against someone who's in a lot of ways far more skilled than him. That's just not a fight for. And once again, although Shakur Stevenson is proven and respected in previous divisions, he has yet to really do anything at 135. Why risk everything that you've won, especially coming off of your biggest win up to date against Lomachenko, to put it all all at risk to fight against the beltless, not as well known Shakur Stevenson when you could take on someone like Gervonta Tank Davis?
Yep, that's it. But Tank, man, the world is his oyster right now. Okay, he just like Canelo. Everyone is standing in line, waiting patiently to fight him.
Yep,
he's got his choice of everyone,
yeah.
Especially because he floats throughout several divisions.
Absolutely,
right?
That's the one thing I do like, the fact that he can fight at 35 or 40 if he chooses to.
So let me ask you something, brother. Once again, getting full circle. Who do you think Tank fights next when he gets out of the Uzgao?
Well, I think in my opinion, it's between Isaac Cruz, as you mentioned, or Rolly Romero. I truly don't believe a Devin Haney fight or Shakur Stevenson fight is in the near future. At least not this year.
Let me ask you this. If Teofimo Lopez,
I thought about that.
In the last fight in his ESPN top-ranked contract, if he's victorious against Josh Taylor, which would be something, okay, with all that momentum, how do you like Teofimo Lopez versus Tank Davis at 40? And who wins? And who wins?
Well, in terms of who I'd favor, I would easily favor Gervonta Tank Davis, just based off of Teofimo Lopez's deficiencies and flaws inside the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, it'd be a great event and a great fight.
It'd be a great fight, especially for the first few rounds. That could be one of the most explosive fights in all of boxing. Two great counterpunchers, two great athletes. I mean, and even Floyd Mayweather, at least according to what he says, that's a fight that he'd be interested in watching and potentially making. Now, I'm aware that he's not in charge of Gervonta Tank Davis's career anymore, but just the idea of him floating that idea around is intriguing.
Oh, I love it. Sign it up, guys. But once again, have to get past Josh Taylor first.
That's honestly, like, Joseph, that's honestly the reason why I didn't mention that, because I at this current moment with everything going on, I just don't see it. I really don't. It'd have to, like, I feel if Teofimo does pull off the win against Josh Taylor, it will be a miraculous knockout or a very controversial, just from how I see it at this current moment.
Okay, let's just, here's my brother Juice. He says, I'm sensing a Haney win by 10th round TKO stoppage. Well, let's make one thing very, very clear. One, Lomachenko is not getting stopped. He's too smart. Two, Haney ain't stopping anybody. I think my brother James from the Boxing Source has the beat. And once again, guys, if you haven't already, please go subscribe to my brother James at the Boxing Source. He does great work, and he is back from his stint in Vegas all week. Guys, go check out his coverage at the Boxing Source. He says, Haney decision 8-4. Yep, I can see that happening as well, but no one is getting stopped in this fight.
No,
not Haney, not Lomachenko. I'd be willing to bet my house on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Devin Haney hasn't dropped a fighter in, I believe, 4 years. And Lomachenko just, unless I don't see Haney opening up or even allowing himself to just get stopped by Lomachenko. I just really don't see that happening.
Also want to welcome my brother Larry Liston. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Always insightful. Love hearing your comments. He says, Teofimo can definitely beat Josh Taylor. Here are the facts. Taylor has been too inactive and arguably won only 4 rounds against Carroll. And the fight is in New York. And once again, keep in mind, Joey, I'm going to ask you this. Why did Josh Taylor feel the need to press the action? Where was the fight taking place?
It was in Scotland.
There it is. He was the A side. Everyone was there to see the unified champion. And why? Once again, as soon as he hears those boos, well, he feels the necessity and the onus is upon him to press the action. He did unwisely. That's why he looked like hot garbage. Where's this fight taking place between Teo and Josh Taylor?
New York.
Yep. That's Teofimo's home area. He's going to have that same pressure. Trust me, just like he did against Kambosos, he's going to feel the need to press the action, just like Sandor Martin. And he's going to look like absolute dog shit when he does, because he's not an effective aggressor, never has been, never will be.
Yep.
He's a counterpuncher by trade. That's his bread and butter. This is going to be a very difficult fight for Teofimo Lopez. If he's going to be successful, he needs to take a page out of Tank Davis's handbook and say, you know what? I don't care what the audience thinks. I don't care what the ticket sellers or the ticket paying customer. I don't care what the paying customer wants. I'm going to do what I do, and I'm going to sit there, and I'm going to be patient. I'm going to wait on Josh Taylor to come forward. I'm the home fighter. I'm going to get the benefit of all the close rounds. You're going to have to come to me, brother. And guess what? When you do, I'm going to take your damn head off. If Teofimo Lopez is smart, he'll do that. It might not be very popular at the time, but if he's smart, he'll do that. Guys, I guess that's just about it. We just lost Joey. We want to thank him for all of his insight and all of his commentary on this episode of WAWR Week Radio. And guys, I missed you all very, very much. And I'm sorry I was absent for an entire week. But guys, please let me know what you think about my, hold on. Oh, oh, I tell you what, Joey, please don't make this an isolated occurrence. Please come back on future episodes. Your insight was greatly appreciated, my friend. I tell you what, though, yeah, it's going to be interesting, guys. And please let me know what you think about the video articles and about Coach Ronnie's AI voice. But guys, look forward to more articles. Look forward to me going live during the DAZN broadcast tomorrow, because I couldn't be there live. I'm going to be going live on my channel. And so please come and visit. God bless all of you guys. And thank you for being with us for the last 2 hours. So guys, once again, God bless all of you. And let's do one final shot for everyone in attendance here. We've missed you all. God bless all of you, and look for regular programming all next week, including some surprises. God bless all of you, and have a wonderful Friday evening, everybody.
Ring.com and Halftime Pizza proudly present WAWR Week Radio Chats with ring announcer and commentator Joseph Heron.